If you're already a high capacity leader or you just care about the direction of your life, you know that productivity can become an excuse to real work. That's why I wanted a personal framework to help me this year. You might be a leader who is pioneering in business or ministry as well. So I'm calling this the Pioneer Protocol, and it's my own scorecard for productivity. It's 6 best practices that I'm going to be doing more intentionally, and I've put them in 2 categories. The first one is a value that I have to be present. And when I am present, then I can receive from God's presence, and I can enjoy a more focused and fulfilling life in the day-to-day. And then I can be more responsive to the people around me as well. The other category is this value of being prepared. And that is really the heart and soul of this podcast, prepare to go there. And so preparation is the key to acceleration in your life. And a lifestyle of preparation is one of the foundational standards for this new generation of leaders that I'm calling pioneering leaders. And these 2 are values that we always have to hold in tension. And this is how we build out the framework. So I'm going to start on the be present side. And the 3 best practices are presence, referring to God's presence, prayer, and proximity. Presence, referring to God's presence. When Christ is at the center, then we begin to learn how to lead from a centered life. We're more grounded, we're more grateful, and we have a great point of reference to keep growing in our life. There's a book that really marked me called The Practice of the Presence by Brother Lawrence. He was I think French monk in maybe the 15th, 16th century, and he wrote about a habitual life with God, that he was practicing a constant awareness of God's presence in his life. That becomes the first best practice of receptivity to God's presence in the everyday aspects of our life. The second best practice in the Pioneer Protocol is prayer. If you're doing anything new and different, if you're going against the grain, if you're innovating, you have to rely on Christ to do that work. I don't think anyone accomplishes great things that are lasting, that are eternal, without a deep sense of humility and dependence on God. So prayer is another big best practice in the Pioneer Protocol. And what I wanted to do is be more intentional about that balance and that ebb and flow between prayer and work. And so I've always, been nourished and developed in a life of prayer, but right now in this season of my life, I'm thinking more about the structure of prayer in order to keep the workload in check. So my commitment is to rely on Christ. I'm taking cues from church history on this one by experimenting a daily schedule made up of prayer pauses. And so I set on my phone 5 silent alarms that vibrate 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 noon, 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. And it's just that cue that, hey, you've been going in a certain direction for a while. Why don't you pause and why don't you pray again? And so it's not about how long you pray. It's about that practice of coming back to the Lord in prayer and casting your cares on Him and slowing down for His comfort, His counsel, His encouragement. And then from there, you blast off again. Now, I'm saying this is an experiment because my hope is that as I do this more and more, these reps will get a little bit longer, and then I can share these prayer sets with other friends, team members, leaders, whoever, and then that will create the structure for a community as well. To balance that structure, I also give myself unlimited, unstructured prayer times in the form of prayer walking. And that's just something that I've grown up doing. I love it to just get away from the normal space, maybe my workspace, and get outside, enjoy nature, and take it all in, think, process, pray, and come back and keep going. All right, the third best practice is proximity. And this is helping me be present. It's being present to other people. It's not just that, God is always present for me and that I want to be present to the Lord, but it's me now being present to other people. And so proximity is a growing preference that I'm hopefully developing throughout this year to move towards people, not away from people. This is something you and I may need to practice together. We need to practice moving towards people. When people have a need, move towards them. When people have free time, move towards them. When people have big decisions, move towards them. So the value here is simply being in proximity with other people in the context of relational, community, collaboration, and coaching. So what this looks like practically is if I have the option to not meet with someone or to meet with someone, I'm going to attempt to meet with them. And then if I have the option to meet online or in person, I'm going to make the effort to go in person. And then if I have the opportunity with my wife for us to open our home and host, then we want to do that as well. Okay, so those are the three best practices that are helping me be present in this season and year of my life. Now I'm going to focus on the three best practices for be prepared. The first one is this idea of progress. So best practice number 4 would be the habits and the goals that I'm working on in the journey-like fashion. It's not just the task list that comes and goes. These are, roles and goals, the habits, the big, values and attributes that I want to be developing over time. And so to do that, there's really no end point. So I put it in a different category. Growth and compound consistency is going to be the goal on this one. And tactically, I'm just allocating time on my schedule weekly for starters to have time to study my goals, have time to review my habits, and then refine my personal systems. The next best practice to help me be prepared is preparation. And that is a big topic. So I'm just focusing on one aspect, which is the preference to work on tomorrow today. That applies to resetting the home the night before. It applies to, having notes for the meeting the night before. It applies to having a checklist for the things I want to knock out the night before. So this is going to be simple, but it can branch out into different areas of your life. And it just helps us, come back to this standard of readiness, which is you're not finished today until you're ready for tomorrow. The last best practice in be prepared is productivity. Even though productivity is a big topic, what I'm specifically referring to in this Pioneer Protocol is an analog planner and then structured work sessions. And I think individually, if I can just stay focused on triaging the top tasks in real time, and then I'm also giving myself 2 structured work sessions that are connected to those tasks, I have a better chance of being productive and making my core contribution. In review, I want to have a great year, just like you. The Pioneer Protocol is a hopefully well-rounded rule of life that's helping me just be a little more intentional. On the be present side, I want to embrace God's presence. I want to submit myself to God in prayer. And then I want to make myself more responsive to others doing proximity. Then on the be prepared side, I'm thinking about how do I make progress on habits and goals. I'm thinking about the preparation, making sure I'm ready for each next day, next checkpoint. And then I'm also working on productivity with my Pioneer Planner, which lets me map out my work sessions. Thanks so much for being a part of this podcast. I want you to get engaged with this conversation by leaving a comment It really does support the podcast, but it also encourages other people that are on their own leadership journey as well. Which side of the Pioneer Protocol is your stronger side? Do you lean towards be present? Do you lean towards be prepared? It's very interesting to kind of see where leaders land on that spectrum. And then let me know which best practice you're going to adopt first. Please subscribe to this podcast. If you're a pioneering leader, you're going for a new venture, a new idea, a new passion, a new direction, then this is absolutely for you. It's going to keep you encouraged and keep you focused all year long. You're the reason that I keep working on this podcast, making sure that you guys know that I host a Prepared Leaders Challenge. Please join in. It will be well worth your time. It is not only about productivity, but it is really about helping leaders be prepared, one of the strongest attributes that a leader can be, specifically in this landscape. I really appreciate you. Remember, the future has so many fields waiting on you, so prepare to go there.